And welcome back to the Upside Sports Network. My name is Michael. Appreciate you guys joining us anyway. And we're going to cover kind of every single day with you guys. Major League Baseball's off season. Hot stove season is underway. We've already seen Edwin Diaz sign, Clayton Kershaw. A number of trades have already gone down. Aaron Judge hopefully will sign by the winter meetings. Just in case you guys are new to the channel, we will be covering the winter meetings for you guys pretty much live the entire week of the winter meetings. Every single transaction that happens, we'll be breaking it for you here. So you don't need to worry about trying to keep up with all the different sites, everybody's different Twitter pages, and having a million notifications go off on your phone. Just hit that subscribe button. Follow us here at the Upside on YouTube here. Follow us on Twitter at UpsideSN, and we'll keep you up to date on every single thing that happens on during the baseball winter meetings. We've got that cornered for you. So if you guys have any questions, want us to focus on anything in particular, just need to know something, feel free to send it to us. We'll get back to you if if you're not in a live and you just come up with a question, you just want to know something about anything from baseball, basketball, hockey, football, whatever the case may be. Just send a comment on one of our videos anyway. We get those comments. We'll let you know the answer to those comments anyway. But we appreciate you guys joining us. Already got like 8 of you guys right now, so thank you guys for joining us. But as I mentioned last night anyway, Major League Baseball's offseason. During the week of Thanksgiving, there's not a whole lot of transactions. Monday and Tuesday, you'll see a little bit. Wednesday's more of a travel day for executives as they try to go to meet their families. Thursday and Friday, it's very, very rare to get anything of any real notoriety anyway, as far as trades or signings or anything like that. But we might get 1 or 2 this year. Nothing is, you never say never, especially when you're considering Major League Baseball teams. A lot of these big name free agents, if a free agent suddenly decides, hey, I'm sitting around the Thanksgiving table, say Aaron Judge is having Thanksgiving in San Francisco with his family there. Hey, just all these good feelings are coming back to me. San Francisco, if Aaron Judge calls you, you sign him on the dotted line right there. Don't expect that to happen at all. I don't even think there's a remote possibility of Aaron Judge signing during Thanksgiving weekend. But if something does happen, we'll let you guys know. But just to kind of kick everything off, as I mentioned in my previous lives, one of the sites that you guys can use to kind of keep up, if, for instance, I'm not able to get the information out to you fast enough, or if you just want to read it for yourself, MLBTradeRumors.com. They're kind of an independent news site. They try to stay as impartial as possible, not trying to pander to a certain public or anything like that. But they, of course, have their own biases, just like everybody else does. But they try to give you the most information that they can. The only news today, anyway, was that Jolie Rodriguez of the Mets, anyway, he's a free agent. He signed with the Boston Red Sox, 1 year with a club option for 2024. The other news, of course, is that Bryce Harper finally had his surgery on his UCL. The Phillies had a press conference about that. They basically said that he's expected to be back around the All-Star break. Originally, they said at the end of May, end of June. That's a little bit beforehand. I think that's a little bit optimistic, but if you're a Phillies fan, I would more lean towards the estimated timetable of after the All-Star break. I think they're going to be very patient with him. I don't think they want to rush him back at all. He means way too much to that franchise. Plus, they're likely to bring in one of the top free agent shortstops in this class, Trey Turner or Xander Bogaerts, and still add to that pitching staff. Welcome back, Bounty Hunter. Appreciate you coming back. Not too much going on today, so posted a couple of videos. Going to make several videos for you guys tonight. That way I can spend some time with family on Thanksgiving. But like I said, whenever you guys post a comment or have a question, I will get those and see those and try to get back to you as quick as I can. I was reading an article from Jim Bowden of the Athletic anyway. He basically was asked about the possibility of the Yankees trying to bring in Pablo Lopez. I know a lot of you guys have asked about him in recent memory. And he was asked more specifically, what would it take for the Yankees to get him? He said it'd probably end up taking Volpe, Peraza, or Dominguez, one of those top three prospects. And it seems like the Yankees, at least from their perspective, are not inclined to do that type of a deal right now. Now that he was asked about Gleyber Torres possibly being a piece going the other way. Happy Thanksgiving to you, John. But Gleyber Torres, while he's a good player and the Marlins have had interest in him in the past, they don't see him as the centerpiece of a deal going back to the Marlins for Pablo Lopez. So if you're looking at the New York Yankees, you're going to have to, pry loose, Peraza out of your grasp and be willing to move him in that type of a deal. Volpe, I think, is a little too much value to be included in that type of a trade right now. Dominguez, I could hear arguments about that, but Peraza, he seems like the odd man out, the guy that most teams should have the ability to get if you're offering the right piece to the Yankees in return. But those are your news items for today from around Major League Baseball. Again, Jolie Rodriguez, 1-year deal, kind of a relief pitcher. Up and down performance, was with the Rangers at the time of the Joey Gallo trade, was a part of that good Joey Gallo trade as a replacement for John King, who medicals came back negative for the Yankees. So they said, no, we're going to nix this, and they kept 2 more of their prospects, and the Rangers were able to rework it and include Jolie Rodriguez. He finished the year with the Yankees, ended up with the Mets last year, pitched very well for the Mets last year, though. And so the Red Sox are hoping to kind of cash in on that momentum. As we mentioned last night anyway, Aaron Judge met with the San Francisco Giants pretty much all day on Tuesday. Now, as far as, was it one big, long meeting? No. Apparently it was a series of different meetings, ultimately leading to ownership-level negotiations with Aaron Judge himself in attendance with the owners of the San Francisco Giants. I believe he was also at the ballpark at one point. So apparently Aaron Judge is being very thorough with his examination of where he wants to go. San Francisco is the team he grew up rooting for, so they kind of have a leg up in that category. I'm sure they brought all kinds of heroes that would have been, his favorite player at that time when he was a kid. But the Yankees, I believe, are still the front runner. They, of course, absolutely have to have him, and we'll kind of get into that yet again tonight, just to kind of tell you show you what the other options are for the New York Yankees if they are not able to get something done. But the Giants are making it very compelling as to their involvement in the Aaron Judge race. Now, sure, they have the money available. We looked at their payroll last night anyway. They have plenty of room to add not just Aaron Judge, but possibly another shortstop, maybe a starting pitcher, maybe bring back Rodon. They're not just going to do Aaron Judge and be done. They should be able to add multiple pieces to this team that should impact their winning for multiple years, so we'll see where they end up going. But again, Aaron Judge is going to have a vast market, and we haven't even talked about the LA Dodgers, who trimmed over $100 million in payroll from what they had last year. They have bukus of money to spend. Mookie Betts, before the offseason really began anyway, went by himself to the front office of his own volition and said, hey, I'm more than willing to move to second base if that means we bring in Aaron Judge. That tells you just where the Dodgers players are at from their mindset of where they want. Do they want to bring in Aaron Judge, or they want to hold on to their position? Hey, I'm the best right fielder in the game. No, it's about winning. Mookie Betts has the right attitude there. And sure, you want to still prove yourself at the best at each position, but he has the flexibility to move into the infield. He was a minor, or he did play some second base in the minors, was brought up as a second base / outfielder type. And so if you're wondering, hey, Mookie Betts, second base, that doesn't make any sense. He's never played there in the majors. Well, he has the ability to do it in a pinch, and he is very athletic, and so he could easily slide into that position. Not necessarily be the greatest at it, but I think he could hold it down defensively. What happens after that, though, would be a little bit interesting. What do they do with Gavin Lux? What do they do at shortstop? What do they do at the back end of their rotation, etc.? So that's kind of where the dominoes could fall for the Aaron Judge signing. But in case you guys are just joining us, hit that like button and subscribe. We really do appreciate it. I put a video out around 6-ish today, just kind of letting you guys know that we are going to be live. Thank you guys who did subscribe. We gained 3 off of that video alone. We're getting closer and closer to our goal of 1,000. Really do appreciate those of you who that did subscribe. Just can't thank you guys enough. And we're getting closer and closer to being monetized and be able to do this for you guys full time. That's the reason why 1,000 subscribers is so important to anybody who does YouTube stuff. YouTube years ago raised their requirements for monetization and that kind of a thing. So all this stuff that you see us doing, etc. If you're under 1,000 subscribers, you're not making money doing it. And so the closer we get to that goal, the happier each one of us guys who do YouTube are. And I just wanted to take the time to thank you guys for making an impact and helping us out. It's been a labor of love. Been a sports fan pretty much ever since I was knee-high to a grasshopper, as they say. And followed everything, followed stats religiously. Even as like an 8-year-old kid, I was looking up not just home runs and RBIs, but I was looking up batting averages, walks, and strikeout rates, and those kinds of things. And so if a lot of you guys ask, how did I get so knowledgeable? It's just practice. I mean, learning about the sport, growing up with, my dad, learning about everything in it. And so those of you who are having, time with around the, dinner table with your family, spend time with your family. Say thank you, Mom and Dad, for everything, that got you where you are, and whatever else you might be thankful for. And hopefully the rest of you guys, just like John, are having a happy Thanksgiving over this weekend anyway. But thank you guys anyway for subscribing. I really do appreciate it. But let's get back to some baseball, shall we? Now, last offseason was kind of the summer, or the winter anyway, of the shortstop market. This winter is also going to be that. We weren't exactly expecting this level of free agent shortstops to be as wide as it is, because Carlos Correa was a part of that class last year, opted out of that contract that he signed with the Minnesota Twins. Curious to see what they do at shortstop. They traded away Gio Urshela. I'm wondering if they try to dip their toe in on a guy like Dansby Swanson. Maybe they're able to bring back Carlos Correa, but I really don't think that's going to happen. I'm curious to see which direction they're going to go. They could go the short-term stopgap option and a guy like Elvis Andrus. Dansby Swanson's market, we heard, was a little bit more defined the other day by John Paul Morosi of Fox Sports. He said during the morning show Hot Stove on MLB Network that the Cubs and the Braves are considered the front runner, with a number of other teams lurking in the background. Dansby Swanson, by the way, 21 outs above average anyway over the last year anyway. That's the best mark in the sport at shortstop. He did great last year, so we'll see where his contract ends up. His bat finally came through in a contract year. Surprise, surprise. So we'll see if there's some regression to the mean anyway with that bat. So you are getting a defense-first player with some potential offensively. I believe his wife plays for the Chicago soccer team there, so that's why the Cubs might have a little bit more of a leg up from the other competition out there besides the Braves. But I think if the dollar is correct for the Braves, I think the Braves will still retain Swanson. The question is, how high are the Cubs really willing to go? We'll see where he ends up. But again, it's the winner of the shortstops last year, winner of the shortstops again this year outside of Aaron Judge, who is the top fish on the market. As far as the starting pitching market, we're starting to see a little bit of rumors coming out about Kodai Senga, the free agent coming over from the NPB. Apparently, that's the market for him is looking like 15 teams strong. He's already met with, I believe, 5 different teams: Mets, Padres, Giants, Dodgers, and Rangers. I believe he's already met with. He's looking at the Mariners, Blue Jays, Yankees, and I think the Red Sox even made a call as well. But as I mentioned, over half the league is interested in Kodai Senga. Curious to see what number he ends up getting, because he is a true free agent. He is not subject to the posting system, so you don't have to try to pay the international team to bring to get his rights, etc. He is a true free agent. He's 31 years old, pitched as an ace pretty much his entire career, and didn't start out as an elite, starting pitcher type. Like a Yu Darvish, insane talent. You just knew he was going to be very effective wherever he pitched. Kodai Senga is kind of that hard-working pitcher. He worked to get where he was. He's developed several out pitches anyway, so we'll see how that success translates to Major League Baseball. The Mets, I believe, are one of the front runners for him. If DeGrom leaves the Mets anyway, I think Senga could be a very good option for them. They have 3 holes in their rotation because of free agency. DeGrom is not the only one. It's Chris Bassett as well, and then Taijuan Walker. I expect them to at least re-sign one of those two, of Bassett and Walker. They could bring back both, but they're going to have some holes in that rotation if they lose a guy like DeGrom. They have Scherzer at the top, and again, we saw, he got blown up in the playoffs the year before. He had that tired arm in the playoffs, couldn't go in Game 6 for the Dodgers. I wonder how much Max Scherzer has left in the tank. The other rumors, of course, with the Mets are that they could bring in a Justin Verlander or a Carlos Rodon. Would be very interesting to see a pairing 1-2 again, just like in Detroit all those years ago, of Verlander and Scherzer. We'll see if this iteration of it gets them a title, if that were to happen. But there's a lot of good free agents out there. Saw a little bit more more reporting anyway on the market for Carlos Rodon. Apparently, the Rangers have met pretty much all of his representatives already. They've already got contracts offers out on the table to Carlos Rodon. Pretty much all the high-level free agent starting pitchers, they have contracts already on the table for every single one of them. The Mets are also talking to all of the top free agent starters as well. Dodgers are in on the market for at least Verlander and DeGrom. I haven't heard them connected as much to Rodon as of yet. As far as the free agent outfielder market, there's not a lot of movement there. We saw the trade anyway of Hunter Renfroe going to the Los Angeles Angels last night anyway. That was live while we were on the air. You can check out the video for that reaction anyway, but a good piece for them. Really leaves Joe Adell with no place to play out there in Anaheim, so we could see a trade coming here from Anaheim. They've already made a couple of trades for Gio Urshela and now Hunter Renfroe, so maybe they're trying to make a lot of moves here to try to convince Shohei Ohtani to stay. But as far as the free agent market for hitters anyway, there's not a lot of good high-profile options outside of the top-end shortstops, Brandon Nimmo and Aaron Judge. There's a couple of good first basemen, Jose Abreu and Josh Bell, but outside of that, the market's pretty thin for hitting. I mean, the best hitter outside of that group, probably Mitch Haniger. And he's not exactly the most healthy player. He's only played a full season, I believe, twice in his career. Same thing with Brandon Nimmo. But Brandon Nimmo last year was absolutely great. Haniger did miss time last year. Only played in the second half. Has really good contact rates, hard hit rates. But he's a 32-year-old free agent for the first time with health not on his side. He is a very good defender. He's above average defender anyway. And so we'll be curious to see where he goes. The Angels were listed as a suitor for Mitch Haniger, but doesn't look like he could go there. Just because they already made the move for Hunter Renfroe. Now, that doesn't take them out of the market completely because they could still look to add more weapons there and bring in a Mitch Haniger. But I believe they're going to look to that starting staff and maybe that bullpen before they make any other batting to go for another hitter, that kind of a thing. But the market for Mitch Haniger was the Dodgers, Rangers, so we'll see where he ends up going. The Giants were also listed as a suitor for him. So that's kind of where the market is for him. Then there's kind of the rebound candidates, if you will, Cody Bellinger and Joey Gallo. Cody Bellinger, of course, the former MVP, just hasn't been the same ever since the MVP. Over the last couple of years has been below league average by a mile, around a .210 batting average, and just hasn't gone well for Cody Bellinger. In LA, was non-tendered. Obviously, that was part of the decision for the Dodgers to try to save over $100 million from last year's payroll. That way they could invest it in options such as Aaron Judge or Justin Verlander or Xander Bogaerts. They also have Trey Turner as a free agent, so there's a lot of movement in LA. So we could see, because of the Cody Bellinger move, a lot more high-price moves happening in free agency, them stepping out a little bit more like they did for Freddie Freeman. I personally think Xander Bogaerts would be a great fit in that lineup. They already have 2 of the top 3 contact hitters over the last 5 years in Major League Baseball, and Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman. The only other one in that top 3 is Xander Bogaerts. They would have cornered the market on the top 3 contact hitters with the signing of Xander Bogaerts. Got 18 of you guys with us right now. Appreciate all the support. Hit that like button and subscribe if you're joining us for the first time. We really do appreciate it. Now, one thing I did want to touch on that we went over last night is we talked quite a bit about Aaron Judge and what it means for where he could go, but I wanted to touch on that one more time. In case you guys are unfamiliar with it, this is baseballtradevalues.com. Gives you an idea of what a player is worth relative to prospects, etc., what he could possibly be worth. So if you're ever wondering, does this trade make sense? Does that trade make sense? It's not necessarily, EA Sports or Madden trades or anything like that, but it'll give you an approximate idea of what it could cost your team to make a trade. They also do grades as far as the value of a trade after the trade has already been made. So, for instance, if we go to the trade boards, I'll kind of show you one. I'm sure they have the Hunter Renfroe one on here. There it is. There's the Hunter Renfroe deal. 1.9 in total value for the Angels. Then the three pitchers that they got in return, 1.6. Obviously, that trade would work. But what I wanted to focus on here was Aaron Judge. We spoke last night about if Aaron Judge goes somewhere else, what are the Yankees going to do? Well, Hal Steinbrenner, first thing he's going to do is immediately go to Brian Cashman's office, pound on the desk, say, one, why didn't we get him? Why weren't we the high offer? Or if we were the high offer, what about our team did he not want to come back to? And we need to fix that immediately. Then the next step is going to be, what are we going to do to solve this team going forward? Obviously, with Aaron Judge, it still wasn't enough to be able to win the World Series last year. He kind of covered up a lot of the flaws they have on both sides of the ball, offensively and defensively. They need a contact hitter in the outfield, even if they bring back Aaron Judge. They still need to add to that starting rotation. That's why there's a lot of rumors connecting them to Pablo Lopez down in Miami. So be curious to see what they end up doing. Now, if they lose Aaron Judge, the aircraft carrier of that lineup, then other hitters in that lineup, it's going to be a kind of a cascading effect of their effectiveness. First, you look at Giancarlo Stanton. He took off so much pressure of Giancarlo Stanton, it's not even funny. With Judge in the lineup, Stanton could kind of breathe a little bit easier. Pitchers were more afraid to face Aaron Judge and would be more willing to throw the ball over the middle of the plate to a guy like Giancarlo Stanton than they otherwise would be. Remember, when Aaron Judge was out of the lineup in years past, Giancarlo Stanton struggled mightily with the strikeout. And so we'll see if he kind of regresses back to that a little bit. Say Josh Donaldson, same kind of a thing. Backside of his career, had injury issues as well. If Aaron Judge isn't necessarily in that lineup to take a lot of the pressure off of him as far as the media and all that kind of thing, we saw him kind of a blow up earlier with the Chicago White Sox game. I wonder how much of a fit he is in New York. I'm not sure he should be the third baseman there to begin with. I didn't like the move when they made the trade for him to begin with. Without Aaron Judge in that lineup, he's going to be asked to produce so much more in that lineup as a former MVP. And he's older now. He doesn't have that type of ability left in his game. He still has the ability to be a good power hitter from time to time, but he's not going to be consistent for 162 games. That's where I think the Yankees really need to improve if they lose a guy like Aaron Judge. And I just don't see the real option to be able to solve the problem. On the free agent market, what are they going to do? Go after one of the top shortstops on the market? Well, you want to go young at that position. That's why you didn't sign Carlos Correa last year, because you wanted to have the room for Volpe or Peraza if one of them kind of took over that position. Now, if you bring in one of those top shortstops, that scraps your shortstop plan. You can then take those prospects and trade them, of course, but what are you going to trade them for? The only candidates we saw last night anyway, if you want to check out that video, the only real option to be anywhere near the level of Aaron Judge would be going after a guy like Fernando Tatis Jr., who's going to be playing the outfield next year for the Padres if he remains in San Diego. I believe if you contact A.J. Preller, you could start a conversation there. And if you give them enough offers, if you get the right offer to them, I think you could pry away Fernando Tatis Jr. They were done with Fernando Tatis at the end of last year anyway, at the trade deadline. When they made the trade for Juan Soto, they were ready to go. The team was kicking on all cylinders. The starting pitching was going well. The bullpen, they just made the trade for Josh Hader. And then just kind of a knife in the back from Fernando Tatis Jr. getting busted for PEDs for a medication for ringworm. At least that's what he claimed. All the injuries that he had in the offseason that he didn't seek medical treatment for, that he had to be out for the first half of the season entirely to begin with. Just the knuckleheadedness issues he's had in the past, and then of course the arm issues he's had as far as injuries. I think San Diego would like to be done with that type of a headache. Maybe they could invest in one of the top free agent shortstops and then flip Tatis Jr. to recoup some of that prospect capital they lost in a Juan Soto trade. So if you're looking at a replacement for Aaron Judge in New York, he's the only guy I see with any level of cachet near what Aaron Judge brings to the Yankees that could possibly satiate the fans for at least one more year and possibly save Brian Cashman's job. I still say if Judge decides to leave to go to the Giants, even if it is his hometown team, even if the Yankees offer was the best one on the table and he just wanted to leave and go to San Francisco, I believe Brian Cashman's done. I don't think he makes it one more year if they lose Aaron Judge. I mean, he's been a great executive for the Yankees, but they're trying to win World Series. They haven't done so since 2009. The name of the game is winning in New York, and they haven't won. And the Astros have had their number pretty much the entire time over the last 6 years. The Astros have been in the ALCS for 6 straight years now, I believe. They've won the AL West for a number of years as well. They've done very well, but the Yankees are just having so many issues. But I don't know if you were here for that, Clay, but I'm going to show that to you guys. For those of you who are with us right now, we got like 18 of you guys, so I know a lot of you guys didn't see this last night. We kind of went through it team by team just to say Aaron Judge leaves. What could the Yankees really do? Again, we're using baseballtradevalues.com. That way you guys can kind of see where everything's at. There's your most valuable pieces for the Yankees. Volpe is the most value left of any player that they have on the roster by a mile. So if you lose Aaron Judge, what pieces could you bring in? We'll kind of go down the list for you guys. Obviously, everybody wants to talk about Shohei Ohtani. Hey, Shohei out there. You know, the Yankees could really put a Godfather offer out there on the table and say he's going to come to New York anyway next year. Maybe, but the Angels are trying to build around him right now. They're making so many deals to try to improve this team, to convince Ohtani to stay. They're trying to sell the team. I don't believe they're going to trade Shohei Ohtani at least right now. But again, look at this. Ohtani is 61.1. What exactly are the Yankees going to give up to bring in Ohtani? I don't think they can. Even if they bring a trade value of Volpe, Dominguez, etc., plus other pieces, I don't think the Angels would still say yes. I think they're just trying to keep Ohtani. He means way too much to that organization. Yeah. I'm not sure the semi picks up the nuances of the polarity of his suspension or the off-field issues. I agree. I'm fairly certain Ohtani or Soto is a Met in 2 years. Maybe. I don't think Soto will be, just because I think the Padres will get that extension done. They gave up so much to get him in. I don't think there's any way they let him leave. I think if they are able to get a deal done this offseason, we're talking about a 13-year deal worth in the neighborhood of $450, $500 million. He's going to get a hefty sum of money, I believe, from the Padres. But maybe this extension takes another year, or maybe he wants to hit free agency. But I think the Padres are going to do everything in their power to make sure he doesn't hit free agency by offering him that type of a contract. But as far as Ohtani, that would be a great piece for them. They do have an aging rotation, and that's with 3 holes in their rotation right now. Say they bring back Bassett and DeGrom. Those are older pitchers as well. They still have Scherzer. And, of course, they have an owner who's willing to spend anything that is required to get things done. Welcome in, Charles. Appreciate it. Welcome in, Clay. Happy Thanksgiving to all you guys. Hit that like button. Hit the subscribe. We really do appreciate it. Saw we got 1 new subscriber anyway. Thank you guys for subscribing. But, again, just to show you the untenable situation the Yankees have kind of built for themselves, if Judge is gone, what are you going to do? As we mentioned, Shohei Ohtani is not going to be traded by the Angels. I just don't see any pathway for them to. They're trying to contend. Astros, what are you going to convince them to deal with, to trade you? Tucker, Alvarez, Valdez, Pena, all those are young pieces of their core. They are not trading any one of those pieces to try to help out the New York Yankees, least of all the New York Yankees. I think if they were to trade any of these pieces, they would be more than willing to trade them to any of the other teams in the league besides the New York Yankees. That's just the level of resentment I think the two teams have for one another at this point. What are the A's going to give you? Any Yankees fans really excited about Sean Murphy, who is available for trade? They do need a catcher, supposedly. I mean, Trevino did play well, but Murphy, of course, is the better piece. 3 years left to control, but is he and Aaron Judge fill-in? Are they on the same level? No, not even close. That doesn't save your job if you're Brian Cashman. Blue Jays, they're never going to trade you anything if you're the Yankees, but they have some really nice pieces, but they're not going to do that. Braves, I know a lot of you guys are confused about the Ronald Acuna headlines over the last few days. He is not on the trade block, will not be traded by the Braves. He simply changed agents along with his brothers, I believe, to make sure they are protected from signing long-term deals like he did in free agency. But, I mean, look at the incredible value the Braves have built up because of the contracts they have signed. Just beautiful contracts. And this Strider one, look at this one. $92 million in salary, $184 in value, and that value I expect to go up as he improves his ace value. Say he continues to take a next step in his career, that value is going to go through the roof. Just telling you right now. Brewers, hey, maybe we can outpitch him. We signed DeGrom. We bring in Corbin Burns. Maybe that'll work. Well, I just saw the headline from Jim Bowden. He's not expecting the Brewers to move Burns, but say you convince them, and like Josh Hader, they just decide to, spread out the value in that one asset through a number of different choices and see if they can get a hit on a number of these pieces anyway. But Burns, free agent in 2 years. I mean, he is a great pitcher, but then you're talking about what for your lineup? You don't really have much hitting in there. You don't really solve any on-base issues. Yeah, I think Strider's going to take another step next year. But again, if you're the Yankees, you go to the Cardinals, you say, hey, we want to improve our team. Carlson, maybe we can get him, cost control, etc. I mean, is Carlson a fit for Aaron Judge? No. As we go through these teams, Diamondbacks, Cubs, what exactly do they have to offer? Nico Horner, nothing really there. The Dodgers aren't really going to help you out if you're the New York Yankees. What are they going to trade you? Smith? I don't think so. None of those are a Judge replacement. You go to the Giants, if they pick off Aaron Judge, you think they're going to help you out? Trade you one of their top pieces that helped them convince Aaron Judge to come there? I don't think so. Guardians, maybe you go after a guy like Ramirez or Bieber. I could see that happening. But are either one of those pieces that could replace in the lineup Aaron Judge? No. Ramirez would be very good, though, in New York. I will say that. But he seems very committed to Cleveland and signed at their number as well. He's locked up in Cleveland for a number of years. He's not going anywhere. Quan, he's a rookie. They finally got a hit in the outfield. They're not trading you Quan. Mariners, they're willing to make all kinds of moves. Jerry DiPoto. But you're not getting one of their young guys like Rodriguez, Kirby, Gilbert. You're not getting any one of those. You're not getting a Cal Raleigh. You're not getting Castillo, who just signed that extension. What, you're going to be happy with J.P. Crawford as your Aaron Judge replacement? I don't think so. Marlins, we've talked about Pablo Lopez. Maybe you go after Sandy Alcantara. Never going to happen, but say you try. Is that a replacement for Aaron Judge? On the pitching side, sure. But again, what are you left with in the lineup? Nothing. Welcome back, Jeremy. Wonder who will sign Cody Bellinger. His market's pretty steep right now. There's a lot of teams in there. I think that market will take a while to clear out. Maybe it could sign by the winter meetings, but he sounds like a case that could go a little bit after that just because there are so many teams in there. Now, if a team comes in and overwhelms them with an offer, say like the Blue Jays think he's the piece that misses or that's missing in their lineup to make them a little bit more right and left or more balanced right and left-handed, that could be a fit there. But I think he should go somewhere where he can get consistent major league at bats and not have to platoon. Welcome back, Giants fan. Appreciate you. Again, the Mets, you think they're really going to help out the New York Yankees, especially after all the collusion investigation they just had? I think the Orioles would be interested in him. Braves, to a lesser extent. They're more trying to save every penny they can for Dansby Swanson. I think his market will get too expensive if they're able to bring back Dansby Swanson. Now, if they don't make that move and they have to move their money elsewhere, maybe they could bring in Bellinger on a 1 or a 2 year deal. Again, the Nationals here, any of these guys a replacement for Aaron Judge in the lineup? I don't think so. Orioles, they're trying to build. They're not going to trade you one of their top young pieces like Rutschman. Padres, that was the one guy we saw last night that could have the ability to replace Aaron Judge in your lineup. Fernando Tatis Jr., if what you hear around the trade deadline was accurate and kind of the raw emotion of the situation, letting Preller slip a little bit more with what he would normally hold back in a press conference. Usually when a player gets busted for PEDs, you hear the same thing. We're really disappointed in the player. We're disappointed that he made this mistake. We understand Major League Baseball's position. We don't fault Major League Baseball. It's on our player. It's on our organization to help him through this tough time. We expect him to be better. He'll be back next season better than ever before, etc., etc. We're so excited for the future we have with Fernando Tatis Jr. We just hope he learns from this mistake. You didn't hear any one of those things from A.J. Preller when the suspension was handed down. You heard we're disappointed in him. We are sick and tired of the trend of his behavior, the injury issues before the season. We've talked about him. About these issues before the season began, as far as his knuckleheaded behavior. We thought he'd finally turned a corner. He said all the right things, and then you're given this gut punch of more, knuckleheaded behavior, getting busted for PEDs for a treatment for ringworm, and he kind of let it all fly right there in that press conference that he had. And I think if you took the pulse of AJ Preller right now, I think you could have some real conversation. If you're a team out there looking for an impact surprise piece out there, Fernando Tatis Jr., if healthy, and gets out of his whatever he's doing PED wise, and gets out of his own head for being dumb enough to get in a motorcycle accident and not seek medical attention afterward for 3 months. Not to mention how many other motorcycle accidents he said he was in before that as well. And then come to spring training and say, hey, by the way, I've got a busted up, such and such. I need to be out for 3 months because I didn't seek medical care when I got in the accident to begin with. Those are the issues that AJ Preller is talking about as far as not taking care of himself. That's why he had some of the arm issues that he had years past as well. And they were expecting better, but those are kind of the same reasons why he would be available as well on this market. As good of a player as he is, as much of an impact bat as he is, as young as he is, the swagger he brings to your team, the bravado that he plays with, those are things that can really propel a franchise forward. But when they're used incorrectly, like last year, it kind of torpedoed their season at that moment. I was surprised the Padres got as far as they did in postseason. They were able to kind of rebound. Soto, Machado kind of led them. Machado was in I believe, second or third in MVP. That tells you exactly where that team is kind of going. They're going to move their franchise forward around Soto and Machado for the time being. But they'd really like to have Tatis Jr. last year, but I think they're open to moving him from that San Diego Padres team. I mean, his contract's already locked in, signed up for 12 years. You're going to have him through his age 35 season. You don't have to worry about free agency. You have cost certainty. Could you see the Orioles signing DeGrom or trade for Lopez? DeGrom, not a chance. Never going to happen. No. That's about as clear as I can be on DeGrom to the Orioles. Now, as far as a trade for Pablo Lopez, maybe they come in and outbid the New York Yankees. Say the Yankees decide not to part with Peraza, Dominguez, and Volpe. They just want to trade Torres and a couple lower-level prospects. Then the Orioles could slide in there and get a good, controllable starter. I'm not sure if that's the right move for them at this point. I think they should go the free agency route, go for one of those guys who's not been tendered a qualifying offer. That way they don't lose a draft pick, etc. But they should go that route and add a starter, a 2 or a 3 type starter in there. I've heard some rumors out there of Nate Eovaldi. He's got a qualifying offer on him, though. That's why I wouldn't do that if I'm the Orioles front office. But there's reason to believe in them going for a starting pitcher. Paulo Lopez is a good option for them, but I think there's better options out there for them for a number 2/3 type starter to go with. But to kind of finish off with the Aaron Judge thought here, say the Yankees don't end up getting him. We just went through the Fernando Tatis Jr. of it. Phillies, they just went to the World Series. They're not trying to lose pieces off of this team. Now, of course, you could make the argument that Nick Castellanos was a blight on the organization at least the first half of it. Just wasn't the bat they had hoped for. But again, that's not replacing Aaron Judge in that lineup. All that money, etc. They have money issues of their own. Now, you could go after Brian Reynolds, but exactly is Brian Reynolds a fill-in for Aaron Judge? I don't think so. Certainly not with the bat. The Rangers, they're trying to build toward contention this year. Say they are a dark horse candidate and for Aaron Judge as well. Say they don't end up with any of the free agent starting pitchers that they want. They go the trade route for it. And then they say they brought in Aaron Judge. They could lose a bat or something like that. But what bat are you exactly going to try to pry away to fill in for Aaron Judge? None. Adolis Garcia? I don't think so. The Rays, they don't really have a bat. Maybe Wander Franco, but that's not a bat that would fill in for Aaron Judge. The Red Sox, they ain't giving you a replacement. Devers might be a good option, but again, they're not trading him to you. The Reds, there's really nobody on this team who could fill those shoes right now. They got a couple of good starters, but again, nobody who could fill the shoes of Judge. Rockies, they're a very young team. None of those pieces are ready yet to take a main starring role, especially in New York. Royals, same problem. Tigers, same problem, young. They got a couple of good starters here that they could go with and trade you. Scoball was mentioned at the trade deadline. Riley Green is not going to be traded. He's kind of the future there. Torkelson as well. Twins. Now you could make an argument that Buxton could be on the, or that you could try to for a guy like Byron Buxton, but again, he's injured all the time. Twins would much rather have that asset on their team. They're still trying to compete for a playoff spot. Did not play well at the second half, but made some really good moves at the deadline that should prove to have fruit anyway in this in a full season anyway. With a trade from Tyler Mahle, the bullpen piece. Trying to remember who they brought in. The bullpen piece from the Orioles. Can't remember off the top of my head. Of course, they still have Chris Paddock, who they picked up from the Padres as well. Yeah, if they lose, say they lose Aaron Judge, or even if they don't, they're going to need a third baseman next year. Donaldson's $20 million comes off their tax bill. So Devers would be a great signing, and stealing him away from the Red Sox, just another ultimate kick to the gut there. But last team here is the White Sox. Maybe you go after Robert, Dylan Cease. But again, the White Sox are trying to compete for the division and go towards the playoffs. They're not going to spin off one of their top pieces to help you rebound from losing Aaron Judge. But just to kind of put a bow tie on this conversation, if Aaron Judge leaves the Yankees, there's really not an option out there feasible, outside of maybe Tatis Jr., to at least save Brian Cashman's job. If Judge leaves, Cashman's going to be gone. That's just the way it's going to go. We could see a whole slew of moves if that happens. A lot of surprising moves that we wouldn't really see coming, out of left field type of trades. Maybe they take on some serious money of a Christian Yelich just as a wild card, to fill in for him. I wouldn't do that if I'm the Yankees. But we could see some really wacky things if they lose Aaron Judge. Nothing is off the table if that were to happen. One other bit of news, anyway, from baseball today. The Texas Rangers, I put a video out earlier today, they brought back former pitching coach Mike Maddox. He was with the team from 09 to 15, had a really solid impact on that team. Two of the best seasons in Rangers pitching history, anyway, were under his watch. Went to the World Series twice, anyway, with Mike Maddox as their pitching coach. I believe they'll probably have Greg Maddux as a special advisor as well. But you don't think Cashman's gone if they lose Aaron Judge? Okay. Everybody's family until they're not. That's all I'm going to say. I mean, they haven't won a series since 09. Somebody's going to take it. Steinbrenners aren't going to take the heat for it. Boone, maybe next year, but Boone's done everything he can with the roster he's been given. And it's a very flawed roster, and who's responsible for putting that roster together? Brian Cashman. Well, yeah, I'm sure the Yankees will probably have the best offer on the table ultimately. I think there's no limit to what limit they will try to do in free agency to keep Aaron Judge. Now, say it gets absolutely ridiculous, and say it's like $50+ million a year, then maybe the Yankees start to have a little bit of trepidation about their tax bill and those kinds of things. And the Giants' offer is just so overwhelming they can't match it. That's the only way I really see that not happening, where the Yankees wouldn't have the best offer on the table. But there's a lot of good interest anyway from the Giants anyway. The Dodgers have posed a good threat. But I still ultimately think Judge is going to stay. But if they lose Judge, I think we're going to see something we haven't seen in New York in a while, and that's going to be sheer panic. But as I was saying, the Rangers did make the move, bringing back Mike Maddox to add to Bruce Bochy's pitching staff. They did not bring in both of those pieces for them to have their ace be Martin Perez, followed up by Dane Dunning, John Gray, Taylor Hearn, and that level of pitcher. I expect them to add at least one ace-level pitcher here during free agency. Maybe via trade they add another one, or they bring in a second one during free agency. But they're going to add a starting pitcher. They still have a hole at left field, though. I'm not really sure what they're going to do. They're in talks with Mitch Haniger, as we mentioned. They had the league's worst left field position last year by almost 100 OPS points anyway. It wasn't close. We just saw the Angels improve their position. They were 29th anyway at 598 OPS. The Rangers were at 508, I believe. I mean, they were just pitiful last year in left field. And they're going to have to do something to solve that position. They already released, Cole Calhoun, one of the guys they were using in that spot for much of the season. And They need to do something in that left field spot. I'm curious to see what they end up doing. Before this offseason began, well, actually, before this past season began, I told you guys keep an eye out for a guy like Trey Turner possibly coming to Texas. I don't think that has a prayer right now, obviously. I think he's probably going back to the East Coast. I'm almost 90% sure he's going to go to the Phillies. But that type of player, somebody who has speed, somebody who's a contact hitter, somebody who can get on base in front of their power hitters, because Seager is now a power hitter as well as Simeon. Garcia's kind of taking strides there as well. Nate Lowe as well. They need an on-base guy in front of them in left field, somebody who can generate some contact and speed, and they just haven't had that at all in left field. They tried Bubba Thompson there. That didn't work, so they need to make a move there. Mitch Haniger would be a good fit, but if they go the two ace route, like was suggested on High Heat or on Hot Stove yesterday morning anyway, I don't really see where the money's going to come from for a guy like Mitch Haniger. So we could see a trade for the Rangers there in left field. But to just kind of put the bow tie on the Rangers conversation, the other move that they made, bringing in former GM of the Kansas City Royals during their World Series run, Dayton Moore. Now, of course, he has a lot of ties to the current president of baseball ops of the Rangers, Chris Young, from his time in Kansas City. He signed Chris Young twice as a free agent there, kind of helped mentor him and kind of steward him along in his path to become a Major League Baseball executive until he finally joined Major League Baseball's office, joining the Rangers a couple of years ago, taking over for John Daniels. Now he'll help kind of run at least kind of shepherd him through the day-to-day operations, a little bit more hands-on than, say, another senior advisor might, but should be a very nice addition to the Rangers front office. But yeah, Clay, you're 100% right that they're screwed without Judge, need to blow it up and give away assets to take contracts like Stanton or Koch and go young. Well, I'm not sure I would trade away assets to get off the contract of anybody if I'm the Yankees. At that point, I realize I've got all kinds of money freed up because I don't have Aaron Judge anymore. At that point, I try to trade any asset that I can without taking on money back if I can. I don't want to put negative value on those assets. Then after I've gotten those done, then I try to flip an asset or two to try to offload some salary. Or maybe if I can get another asset like the Rangers in years past, literally took on some money of players that weren't going to be on the team and just cut them immediately afterwards so that they could get a prospect. I'm thinking of years ago of the Austin Jackson trade from the San Francisco Giants that brought over Jason Barr, a pitching prospect from the Giants. He was the number 12 in the Giants system at that time, I believe. Something like that could be in the works if the Yankees really go down that route. But they're about winning. They need Aaron Judge, and we're assuming a lot here if they lose him. But you got to have those type of contingency plans if you're the Yankees. If you haven't thought about the possibility of losing Aaron Judge, if you're the New York Yankees front office, what are you doing? I mean, your job is to have all kinds of contingency plans. If Aaron Judge breaks his arm on opening day, what are you going to do to fill in the void? You need to have contingency plans for everything. You can't put all those eggs in the Aaron Judge basket like they have, unfortunately, kind of backed themselves into that corner that they've got all their eggs in that basket, so they got to come through. If they don't, then who knows what's going to happen. I mean, there's really no telling. But I just wanted to thank you guys for watching. Got like 15 of you guys with us right now. In case you guys are curious, we do cover the MLB, NBA, NFL, and the NHL. Some good football tomorrow. Got the Bills and Lions, Cowboys and Giants, and Patriots and Vikings on Thanksgiving Day. Should be a great day for football. I will not be doing a live during the day, but I will be having some videos posted throughout the day that I will make for you guys tonight to kind of keep you guys updated on what's going on. Posted an Anthony Davis video a couple hours ago. But we'll get back to finish off our Odell Beckham Jr. series. Got 2 videos left in the pipeline for that one. We got an Aaron Rodgers video as well coming soon. As far as hockey goes, we put out a Jamie Benn video for the Dallas Stars. He's looking like the Art Ross Trophy winner he was years ago with the Dallas Stars. We'll see if he continues his hot start. Well, yeah, but there's a difference between worse with Aaron Judge and apocalyptic. I'll put it that way. The free agent market doesn't really have any options out there for a backup plan. Yoshida has been the one option I've heard, whether they sign Aaron Judge or not, that they would be interested in. Contact hitting outfielder from the NPB. But he ain't going to fill the shoes of Aaron Judge. But that'd be quite the asset to lose. Yeah, I saw. I was watching MLB Now 2 or 3 days ago, anyway, and they were talking about how you could moneyball it together and try to piecemeal it together. The Yankees have never, ever done the moneyball approach when they're trying to solve for a free agency void. I'd be very curious to see how they do it. That'd be something new for Brian Cashman. But yeah, there's a lot of good talk around the NHL right now, so we'll get into some of that. Usually the league is right around Thanksgiving break, and the NHL is a good barometer anyway of who's going to make the postseason. Usually, I think it's like over a or 3/4 of the league that's in playoff positioning at the Thanksgiving break ultimately makes the postseason. There's very few teams that are in playoff positioning right now that won't make the playoffs at the end of the season. So just kind of jumbling around for seeding, etc. But there's a lot of good teams out there. The Bruins, of course, are on a ridiculously long winning streak, etc. They've gotten off to a great start. The New Jersey Devils are right there alongside them. The Stars got off to a hot start and then kind of faltered a little bit because they lost their goalie in Jake Ottinger, but he's back in there. There's tied 1-1 last I heard anyway with the Blackhawks just before I got on the air. But the Kings got off to a good start as well. Edmonton's trying to get adjusted to their new goalie. They really need some defensemen out there. We got a video coming out, I believe tomorrow, about the Edmonton Oilers and their need for a defenseman or two, honestly. I mentioned earlier this offseason that John Klingberg left the Stars and went to Anaheim. Things aren't going very well there, so maybe he could use a change of pace as well. Only signed a 1-year, $7 million deal. But the NHL is very interesting right now. As far as the NFL, we're, 6 weeks away from the postseason right now? And a lot of headlines, of course, are centered around Tom Brady finally kind of getting his footing back over the last couple of weeks. He's had a lot of personal issues to deal with. There was an interesting video I watched today about, remember earlier during the training camp anyway, he left for 11 days. Well, there was some conspiracy theories, we'll call it that anyway, but these had a little bit more steam behind them because it was coming from league executives, front office people, and then Mike Florio kind of put the voice to it anyway in front of a camera, basically saying that the day before the 11-day absence for Tom Brady was announced was that the Miami Dolphins were were investigated and then punished anyway for their flirtation at least with Tom Brady. Remember that whole thing where he was possibly going to go there as a package deal with Sean Payton? Well, apparently the rumor was, among league circles, is that kind of was the impetus for the beginning of the divorce proceedings. That things were really rocky and those kinds of things. I don't like to speculate as far as, person's home life, but we can kind of understand where Tom Brady's head has been at all season long. If that really is the reason why he was gone for 11 days, not a family vacation to kind of repair or to mend the relationship, et cetera, like was thought at the time, you can kind of see why it was such a big problem for Tom Brady this entire season up until now. The bye week, etc., should help him get his head screwed on back straight anyway. They've had injury issues. Julio Jones has only played in a handful of games, but they're finally looking like the Tampa Bay Bucks again. They still can't run the ball. I told you guys at the beginning of the season Leonard Fournette was not going to be fantasy relevant this year. He's still holding on to a top 20 spot in the NFL, but he's losing carries every single week. He's losing time in the backfield every single week to Ricard White. And we could see a changing of the guard at running back next season for sure there. But guys like Raheem Mostert and pieces like that who aren't nearly getting the playing time that Fournette is are very comparable as far as their production over the last, 6-7 games. And it's only going to continue in that trend the rest of the way anyway. So keep your eyes peeled for the rest of the NFL season anyway. Should be some interesting videos coming your way. We got, like I said, an Aaron Rodgers video coming your way tomorrow about what could happen with him after this season. You won't want to miss that one as well. As I mentioned, Odell Beckham Jr., we put out 3 videos about the finalists for him. We've talked about the Cowboys, the Giants, and the 49ers. Still got 2 left in the Chiefs and Bills, I believe. And we'll put out some videos as far as the Thanksgiving games as well on Friday. But one last thing on the NBA anyway. I heard a report anyway that there is rumblings about a 5-team trade that actually has legs brewing in the NBA right now. They're waiting for kind of the deadlines to pass for players to be eligibly traded after they sign their deals this offseason. But it sounds like the gist of it is that Jay Crowder is going to go to the Golden State Warriors if the deal does finish. James Wiseman could ultimately end up with the San Antonio Spurs, with Pirtle going back to the Warriors as well. Eric Gordon ending up in Phoenix. John Collins from the Hawks possibly ending up in Houston. There's a lot of movement in there, but the deal anyway is the Hawks, the Spurs, the Rockets, the Warriors, and the Suns. So we'll see if that ends up happening. How are my fantasy football teams doing? Uh, well, they're doing pretty well. I think I'm still in almost every single one of them. I'm still in playoff positioning, but I think I drafted 22, 23 teams. I think I'm only out in, well, I don't really have a, I'm not really in playoff positioning in like two of them, but the rest of them I'm right there in it. They're doing pretty well. But the other headline from basketball, anyway, is that the Lakers and the Pistons both have checked in on the availability of Miles Bridges. He's had some movement on his legal issues. Thank you for subscribing. Scammer? Okay, interesting name. But appreciate the subscribe. You can see the little other side, the little dinosaur that pops up here whenever I do get a new subscriber. But appreciate that. Thank you very much. But as I mentioned, we do cover the MLB, NBA, NFL, and the NHL. So make sure you drop a like, hit that subscribe button, just like Scammer just did. We really do appreciate it. Trying to climb to that 1,000. We're getting ever so closer to it. And with every single one of you that do subscribe, just to let you guys know, it's more than just me watching it now. You got people in my life keeping an eye on it for me as well. So you're making us all very happy, and thank you very much for all the support. But coming up on an hour right now, if you guys have any questions, 22 fantasy football teams. Yeah. It's a lot to be able to keep up with. Well, as far as who do I root for, well, I've got a lot of the same players on a lot of the teams. I don't really have any team that's exactly the same as the other, but I did draft a lot of the same pieces on each team. For instance, in the draft, I was really targeting Deebo Samuel. That didn't work out quite so well. They've spread the wealth around in that offense a little bit too much. I targeted Justin Jefferson. I've targeted Jamar Chase, but obviously he's injured over the last few days, or over the last couple weeks anyway. But if you're looking on the waiver wire, maybe Odell Beckham Jr. would be of interest if he ends up getting signed and has a productive time with the Bills, the Giants, the 49ers, the Chiefs, or the Cowboys. Jalen Hurts, I tried to draft in a lot of my leagues. He, of course, #1 quarterback in fantasy, I believe. Not an Eagles fan by any stretch, never will be. Only time I think I rooted for him was when they were playing in the Super Bowl years ago. The game where Terrell Owens broke his leg, or was coming back from a broken leg against the Patriots, I think it was. I think that's the only time I've rooted for the Eagles in recent memory. How many MLB draft did you do last year? I did not. I didn't have time to do a Major League Baseball draft. I was still trying to set up everything with my channel. But depending on how things go this year, if I have enough interest, I'll try to do a Major League Baseball one. I was going to do a hockey one, but again, didn't get enough time to. Trying to get things situated to get over that 1,000 and then build my channel from there. Go Eagles. Well, I know we've got a lot of Philly fans. I'm trying to remember his name. David. I can't remember his last name. He joined us during the baseball season. I want to say Gallagher. I could be wrong, but I know he's one of my subscribers. That's a big... Oh, there's a goal in the Stars game anyway. Marchment coming through again. What are your thoughts about Judge, and where do you think he lands? You probably talked about him already. I pretty much lead every video with it nowadays, Bryce. I told you guys before the offseason began, expect that at the most of every single sports show. Where is Aaron Judge going to go? Well, let's first start with the timeline for him. I expect things to kind of culminate around the winter meetings. I'm expecting probably around the Tuesday if I had to bet on a single day. Just a feeling. But as far as where could he go, teams that are known to be interested anyway, the New York Yankees, the Texas Rangers, the San Francisco Giants, and the Los Angeles Dodgers. I don't know why I couldn't think of it anyway. But the Yankees, I believe, are probably, if I had to put a number on it, probably 40% favored anyway to get him. But the Dodgers and Giants are right there. And as a dark horse candidate, if they don't get any starters, the Rangers could have all kinds of money to go after an offensive impact bat. Not that I think it's the right move. I think this would be, tantamount to what the Angels did, bringing in Rendon when they should have gone for a starter. Yeah, I should do a channel just about that. I'd had a lot of interest in when I did that fantasy football stuff. I had in the neighborhood of 20 viewers every single night when I did those fantasy football draft nights. You can check out those lives on here. Those lives were anywhere between 1 to 3 hours long, and I had pretty consistent viewership during it. So maybe we'll do something like that. I think I'm up to 929 subscribers right now. Thank you guys. That's the highest I've been. Really do appreciate that. Thank you very much. Really does help. But just to kind of answer your question, thoughts about Judge, his market really, I think, comes down to two teams in particular, the New York Yankees and the San Francisco Giants. Anyway, he met with the Giants yesterday, multiple meetings throughout the day, not just one long, constant meeting. Apparently, he met with ownership at the end of it. He met at the ballpark with team representatives. He met some of the stars of the organization from years past. At least those are the rumblings out there. But as far as where could he sign, those are, I believe, probably the two most likely options. And again, if I had to pick a team, I'd still say the Yankees are the team to beat, but I think the Giants are going to have real case to bring him in. What am I doing for Thanksgiving tomorrow? I will be over at the folks' place. I've got my uncle in from Minnesota as well. Really enjoy having him in town. It's really a privilege to spend some time with him, and I haven't been able to do that so much over the last couple days because making videos, etc. But tomorrow, most of the day I'll be spending over there. I think we're making 2 turkeys, all kinds of sides, making a pumpkin cheesecake. It's going to be fantastic. So do you think there's no big name players sign until Judges sign? I don't think that's the case. We've already had a number of big names already come off the board, Kershaw, Diaz, etc. But I do think the winter meetings, we will have a couple of different moves already happen. The shortstop market could wait for Aaron Judge, but if a team really wants, say, a Dansby Swanson, I don't think his market is impacted by the Aaron Judge signing. I still think we'll see some transactions before the Judge movement, or the Judge Judge signing, sorry. Meant you could have subs play in a league. Yeah, we were talking a little bit about that in my last one that I was doing. I tried to get, I want to say it was Charles that was the one that was trying to convince me to do a league with him. It was like 12 o'clock at night my time, and yeah, it was. We tried to get it to work. I tried messaging him after the video, and we just couldn't link up right. But maybe we could do something like that next football season. That would be pretty good, or even in baseball next year. I haven't done a baseball fantasy draft in 2 years, I think. The last time I played was 2020. Could jump back into that and have some subscribers play. Thank you, Robert, for subscribing. Really do appreciate it. You've been in my chat a few times. I really do appreciate you coming in every night. Thank you. Hope you guys are having a good Thanksgiving. Have some turkey or whatever you're going to have. Ham, duck, whatever the case may be. A turducken in honor of John Madden. Every Thanksgiving, I think of all those turkey days that I spent watching football with the family. You know, on Fox is when I first got acquainted with John Madden after his days at CBS and watching him and Pat Summerall. I remember the 1998 game with the Dallas Cowboys and Minnesota Vikings. Randy Moss absolutely laying waste to the Dallas Cowboys. I'm a Cowboys fan, but I'm also a Vikings fan. Randy was just on another level that day. That's all I'm going to say. He was, wow. If you get to go back, and I know there's some YouTube videos of it, you might want to check that one out. That was an all-timer game for Randy Moss. Welcome back, Caleb. What are your predictions for tomorrow's football game? So that's a good question. In honor of Turkey Day, I usually try to do like playoff predictions. I haven't really done in-season predictions yet. I could start to do that for you guys if you like, but tomorrow's games, well, Detroit's won 3 in a row. I'm trying to remember if they're at home against the Bills. I want to say they are, but I still think Buffalo's going to crush them. I think it'll be closer than we might think, but yeah. Bills, give me the Bills. As far as the Cowboys versus the Giants, we saw the Giants get throttled by the Lions. They just couldn't get anything going offensively in that game. Cowboys just got throttled anyway. The Minnesota Vikings, who were 8-1 at the time, gave them their second loss after they had just beaten the Buffalo Bills. And again, I'm a Cowboys fan, so take that with a grain of salt, but I think it's going to be a double-digit victory for the Cowboys. Odell Beckham Jr., by the way, is expected to meet with both the Dallas Cowboys and the Giants after the Thanksgiving Day game. Be very interesting to see if he's actually there in attendance tomorrow. How many times do you think they're going to mention Odell Beckham Jr. during the coverage of the game? I'm going to put the over-under at 8. It's going to be a lot. And if he's there at the game in a press box, up in the up in a suite, how many times do you think they pan the camera to him? I'm expecting north of 15 if he's there at the game. That'd be something to kind of keep an eye on. Does Ezekiel Elliott jump in the Salvation Army bin or tin anyway at the end of the end zone? Still can't believe he got fined for that kind of thing years ago. But I wouldn't worry too much about them Cowboys. I think if we get Odell, or even if we don't, our defense is very good. We should at least win one playoff game. I'm not saying we, them boys, going to the Super Bowl and winning it, but I think we've got probably the best defense out there right now. The Eagles could be there. I just wonder if their defense is going to hold up. They got a lot of people who just signed on with them. Just curious about their conditioning and if their legs are going to be able to hold up, if they can hold up to the grind of an NFL season. Granted, there's only 6+ games left, plus the postseason. But the final game of the night, I believe, is the Patriots and Vikings. I think the Vikings get it back together anyway. I love Bill Belichick's defense. Judon's been on another level this year, but I think the Vikings get it back together anyway. Again, I'm a Viking fan, but I don't know if Philly's falling apart. I actually like the way they came back against the Indianapolis Colts, but they have to show some ability to adapt on offense. They didn't really do that. They changed the way they did it in the fourth quarter by allowing Jalen Hurts to just run up the middle over and over and over and over and over and over again, which is the only reason why they won that game against the Colts. Otherwise, the Colts win that game. But, yeah. Philly's going to have to learn to change the way they're doing their offense a little bit. Learn to adapt is the best way I can put it. 9:30. Thank you guys for subscribing. Really appreciate that. 70 away! Can't tell you how excited that makes me. But yeah, the NFC is pretty wide open. In the AFC, I still think it's the Chiefs to lose. The Bills, before the season began, I thought the Bills were probably the favorite. But the Chiefs just, what can you say? I mean, they lose Tyreek Hill. They look more efficient on offense, which is what we expected. But this efficient, I didn't expect him to be this good on offense. But Patrick Mahomes just raising his game every single week. Coming from behind just like he did even with Tyreek Hill, but just a more effective, more efficient, plodding offense that's able to get first, second, and then third down, and then another first down, and not turn the ball over, 3 and out over and over and over again, and then score 28 points in one quarter, and then hold on for a victory. Welcome back, Kenny. It's been a while. The Dolphins, yeah, they're off to their best start since, 2003, 2001? Something like that. Tua Tagovailoa looking very good, but there's a lot of questions about whether or not he's still limited at quarterback. They do have a couple of Maseratis on the outside, if you will. Got a Bengals fan, all right. The Chiefs are the team to beat in the AFC. Yeah, I agree. Chiefs are probably my team to beat. The Bills are probably the second best team in the AFC. Dolphins are in that conversation for third. I could hear an argument for the Bengals because they've had the number one offense since, I believe, the fourth week of the year, something like that, ever since that Miami game, or whenever that was. I want to say it was right around then. But they've had the league's best offense. That offensive line is gelling. They are. Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL. I don't think it's particularly close anymore. Allen is right there. He does have the tendency to make a mistake every now and again that costs his team. Like, that Buffalo team is built to win right now. They need to, rely on that run game a little bit more. They don't trust it because Allen just pulls the ball down. He's their leading rusher. He's their big back. They haven't really tried to develop a running back as a result, but that's one thing I would expect them to try to focus with Josh Allen on, is making the correct decision, especially in the red zone. And then, of course, the running attack going forward. You live in Kentucky, about 30 miles south of Cincinnati. I'm very biased towards Bengals and Reds, even though it's been painful. Well, okay, I'll give you one blurb on your Reds team. Your pitching should be decent. You got some good prospects coming forward as far as middle infielders. Other than that, Caleb, um, uh, good luck at the draft. That's about all I'll say about the Reds. NFC, I like that. You like the Niners. I don't know. I don't think they're going to win the division. I think the Seahawks look like they might keep it on or keep the division. And if they don't, then we're probably looking at the 49ers as a wild card team facing a team like the Seahawks or the Bucks in that first round. If they face the Bucks, that's going to be a heck of a game. I'll put it that way. If they face Seattle, I think they could beat Seattle and they'll be okay. But in the NFC, I do like the Cowboys just for their defense. If they get Odell Beckham Jr., then I'm going to trust them a lot more. But I do like the Eagles, but I still want to see them adapt before I give them the thumbs up that they're going to win the NFC. Bengals are definitely a well-balanced team, and agree they're better at this point defending AFC champs. The Bengals are very balanced offensively. They're getting better. Joe Mixon's looking much better as well. I just wonder if it's going to keep that way going forward. But how many of you guys have been watching any of the NBA season so far? I know we're not to the Christmas Day games, which is usually when fans finally start tuning into the NBA. But how many of you guys are actually watching? The Warriors' struggles so far. Doncic playing like an MVP. Embiid as well. Simmons, that whole debacle. LeBron going out. Chase is coming back. Jamar Chase, he will be. There was rumors he could come back last week, but it looks like they held him out, and then they still might hold him out this week. We'll see if he plays, but yeah, the roster with the 49ers, I agree, Clay, is probably the best roster in the NFL, and yet they're still in talks to bring in Odell Beckham Jr. They have difficulty being able to spread the ball around as it is. I wonder how that would go with bringing in Odell Beckham Jr. I don't think it'd be a chemistry or a locker room issue at this point because they're trying to win. I was listening to Colin Cowherd with Jimmy Garoppolo being a free agent at the end of the season. He was trying to talk about him going to the Jets. That would be very interesting. You're a Magic fan. It's been fun to watch Paolo before he went down. Just so much youth. After the season, we just need to trade some of it. Y'all have been young for a very long time in Orlando. Y'all haven't had much to cheer for. I mean, they keep trying to go young and young and young and young, and they have some good pieces. Jonathan Isaac's been a little bit of a hit. Had some run-ins off the court anyway. But nothing legal-wise anyway. Just that's pretty much your best piece that you've gained out of all the youth that you've got. I mean, I just don't know where they're headed. I mean, they could trade some of that youth, but what are they going to trade it for? What are they going to get in free agency? Nothing. I mean, it's Orlando. But I'm curious to see what ends up happening with the Warriors. I think they're trying to shake up that team. They're sick of James Wiseman. I think they would, if you talk to them privately, I think there's an argument to be had that Draymond Green should be out of that team right now. What teams were in on Beckham? There's 5 right now that are left in the running. The Rams, of course, are not making the postseason. They've dropped out of that race anyway. But the 2 favorites are the Cowboys and Giants. The other 3 that are still in the mix, the Chiefs, the Bills, and the 49ers. I think the Giants are not going to be one of the favorites at the end of it, though. I just don't understand, aside from it being New York and him having a history there, I mean, the quarterback situation is untenable. I think they might even have a quarterback change, even if they make the playoffs after this year. They don't really have any other weapons outside of Odell Beckham Jr. If he were to sign there as a wide receiver, they're one hamstring injury to Saquon Barkley to being a lottery team. Daboll's a great coach, but he's coached them up really well. Argument for Coach of the Year, but that's not exactly the best case scenario for a guy like Odell Beckham Jr. Any of the other 4 teams are a better scenario for OBJ. 49ers, again, just too many weapons there. Not that that's a bad thing, but I just wonder about if they're able to integrate him into that offense, or if they try to force the ball into him and it just isn't working. Those types of issues is what I'd worry about with the 49ers. The Bills, I think he would fit in pretty flawlessly there. Same thing with the Cowboys. I think there's a need in both spots. They can move Gallup or Davis down to that 3 spot in the with the Cowboys and Bills respectively. And then, of course, the Chiefs have some wide receiver issues right now. Juju Smith-Schuster was out due to injury. Hardman's on IR. Sky Moore played a good role last week. Travis Kelce, of course, is their leading receiver. They have a three-headed monster, well, not a three-headed monster, but a good three-headed committee anyway in the backfield. But if you're looking to become the instant number one in the offense, the Chiefs are where you want to go, and it's Patrick Mahomes. But again, remember, I'm a Cowboys fan, so I'm hoping he goes to Dallas. But I could see any of the other 4 teams outside of the Giants making sense. But yeah, Chase is dynamite. If we actually made a video, I think it was week 2 when he went off anyway. If you guys want to check out that video just to see, just to kind of get some more explanation of just how good Jamar Chase is in the NFL. By the way, he's good at football, in case you didn't know. And Bengals will be a much better roster or much better team, even though they're the number 1 offensive team in football ever since I think week 4. Bringing back Jamar Chase will make him that much better. But again, I'm curious with the trades in the NBA coming up. We could see a lot of movement around December 15th when those players who sign those deals in the offseason are eligible to be traded. I'm really hoping we see a 5-team trade. It's very rare we see a 5-team trade in the NBA, and it sounds like here at Thanksgiving that deal's closer to the finish line than we might have thought years ago. That they've pretty much got the details narrowed down. It's just a matter of whether or not the Warriors are really willing to give up a guy like Kuminga or a Moody if they have to get the deal done. It sounds like they want to get rid of Wiseman at this point. He doesn't fit in that locker room. There's issues with Draymond Green. Defensive issues as well. He and Green can't play on the floor at the same time. The Boston Celtics made the trade for Malcolm Brogdon this season. They look like world beaters so far. Best team in the East. The trade for Donovan Mitchell for the Cavs really elevated them. We got a video coming out, I believe Friday or Saturday about that. Just how good Donovan Mitchell has been in Cleveland. Just really kind of gave them some credibility with the basketball insiders that have been following that team. Just kind of gave them that real authority in the room. They were really young. Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen. Nobody really was the veteran on that team. Devin Mitchell, while he's younger, is certainly viewed as that piece that kind of gives them some legitimacy going forward. They look really good. I put out a couple videos about the Dallas Mavericks needing to add another star to this team because it's basically the Luka show every single night. Tonight he had 42 points, 9 assists, 8 rebounds, and still the team lost by 13 points. He just has no help. I mean, they have really good role players, but where's the star? Where's the guy that can get 25 a night on any given night? Sure, they've got role players who can go off for 25, but that's once out of every 10, 15 games. You need somebody to consistently be able to get you 22 to 25 points. SGA is probably the best option out there on the table, but again, he just signed that 5-year mega deal with the Thunder. We'll see if he ends up getting traded at all. And the NHL trade talks for Patrick Kane during the offseason were pretty much non-existent. They were expected to be rebuilding this year. There was some resentment anyway by Patrick Kane, Jonathan Taves, and their top defenseman Seth Jones about the direction of the franchise. That was the only real trade talk we saw in the offseason. Now with them basically being in a complete rebuild mode, the team really going nowhere. Kane hasn't been performing very well. We could see a trade of Patrick Kane at some point. So for those of you who like seeing trades in any one of these sports, keep it here to the upside. Hit that subscribe button and we'll let you know if we see anything. And we've been talking a lot about the NFL. There's 2 videos that I wanted to get out about them, about head coaches anyway. We had a lot of interest anyway at the end of last season in all the head coaching changes. There might be two somewhat surprising firings anyway. Coming down the pike, we could see the Denver Broncos getting rid of Nathaniel Hackett. It just hasn't worked. He's supposed to be the offensive guru and already has given up play calling. It just hasn't gone well. I expect him to be gone. But the more interesting one is the defense of Josh McDaniels with the Las Vegas Raiders anyway. That he supports Josh McDaniels, saying he's doing a fantastic job, even though they're 3-7. At the time he made those comments, they were 2-7. I mean, they're just not a good football team right now. They're still trying to undo all the Mayock years, etc. Bad drafts that just haven't worked out. Cutting Jonathan Abram and he going to the Green Bay Packers, etc. So I wonder what Mark Davis is seeing on that roster specifically, where he says Josh McDaniels is doing a heck of a job with the choice or with the pieces he has to work with. I mean, we're talking about a team that was a playoff team last year. So. And here they are, 3-7 after investing so much money in both their defensive line and at wide receiver. This team was supposed to be ready to go, and yet we're looking at them possibly cutting Derek Carr to save some money, and Derek Carr moving on somewhere else to the Jets, the Falcons, places like that. But it'll be interesting to see what ends up happening there. The video I do have coming out about Aaron Rodgers is what Green Bay could possibly do with his contract this offseason. I mean, the Seattle Seahawks are playing way above their heads right now. They've got a lot of draft picks. They've got a lot of good young players that have hit over the last year, and they're expected to, at least make a call for any one of the quarterbacks that could be on the move this offseason. We'll see which direction they go, but Seattle Seahawks did a nice job in the Russell Wilson deal. Just to kind of your point, Clay, the Broncos are an absolute mess. I don't believe they should have signed the extension for Russell Wilson at the time. I think they should have at least waited 1 year just to see what it looks like with Russell Wilson on that roster. And by the way, it's not good is the polite way of putting it without getting, a ding, community guidelines violations or whatever. But the Broncos just have not played well. Their defense is fantastic, but if they had competent quarterback play, somebody who could get a first down, a running back who didn't get injured, then we'd be talking about a borderline playoff team at this point with just average quarterback play. There's a guy on TikTok who updates us every single week on how many bathrooms Russell Wilson has in his house versus how many touchdowns he's thrown. By the way, he's thrown 7 touchdown passes through the whatever week we are on in the NFL, and there's bathrooms in this house, I believe, are 12. It's funny. He says it with a dry line every single time. It's hilarious. Yeah, the Jets are going to go with Mike White. I didn't put that video out yet today anyway, but they benched Zach Wilson after he didn't take accountability for that offense, the offensive performance that they had against the New England Patriots. And I understand he's a young quarterback. Bill Belichick owns young quarterbacks, but he completed 9 passes in the game. They mustered 3 points. I mean, the second half, they weren't able to move the ball at all. They had negative, 21 yards total in the second half? Or negative passing yards, 21 yards total in the second half. It just did not look good. Not that New England was much better, but we know their quarterback situation is limited. Zach Wilson was drafted as a top 5 pick and hasn't performed as such. And in 2 games this year, the 2 losses he has on his record are both to the Patriots. He didn't learn anything from game 1 to game 2. But really appreciate all the feedback we've gotten tonight. Got 15 of you guys with us tonight. If you guys have any more questions or just want to talk about something, say it in the chat real quick. We'll stick with you guys here for another few minutes here. But got to get some of those videos made for you guys for Thanksgiving. That way you guys have some of those news items to keep up to date on. Gone over a lot of them with you guys in this kind of a Q&A section. But we'll get those videos out for those of you who aren't able to watch the live, can keep up to date on all those. As I mentioned in my short video I did earlier today at about 6 o'clock, I do this every single day with you guys, try to update you on what's going around in the world of baseball. Since it is Thanksgiving week, there's not a lot to go off of. But with the winter meetings coming up pretty shortly thereafter, got 2 weeks until those. We should get some headlines popping off probably Sunday night. So make sure you guys hit that subscribe button and don't miss out on anything. If you guys are curious, you guys can follow me on Twitter at UpsideSN. Where do you see the shortstops going? Well, that's a good question. The shortstop market, there's 4 really good ones on the free agent market. Tops on the list for me would be Trey Turner. I know Clay prefers Carlos Correa, but for me, I like Trey Turner just because of speed, etc. Then, of course, you do have Carlos Correa, Xander Bogaerts, probably the most consistent hitter out of that group anyway, and then Dansby Swanson, the best defensive fielder out of that group. Um, as I mentioned, Trey Turner, I expect 90% chance he goes to Philadelphia. I think it's an all but done deal. I think they're just trying to hammer out money. That could probably get done at the winter meetings. Then that leaves Correa and Bogarts to possibly be going to the suitor that doesn't get Aaron Judge. Dodgers are going to get a shortstop, I believe. The Padres are mentioned as a team that could go after a shortstop. I don't think there's any legs to it unless they make a move with Fernando Tatis Jr. But Cubs, I think, are going to make a very interesting case for Dansby Swanson, but I think he ultimately ends up back in Atlanta. If I had to put money on it right now, I would say Judge goes back to the Yankees. That means that the Dodgers then try to go after either Bogarts or Correa. Giants get the other one, whichever one the Dodgers don't get. The Giants then pivot to the starting pitching market and try to bring back Rodon and bring in Haniger. Dodgers go towards the Bogarts or Correa, whichever one they get, and then they go towards the pitching market as well, and possibly a Justin Verlander. But Dansby Swanson, as I mentioned, I believe should go back to the Atlanta Braves, and the Phillies should get Trey Turner. As far as a trade candidate, Tatis Jr., any team that's in that shortstop market, say somebody goes out there and gets two of those top shortstops, like the Rangers did last year in Simeon and Seager, say the Dodgers for some reason get two shortstops, whatever the case may be. Then we could see another team who misses out on a shortstop try to make a call to Fernando Tatis Jr.'s camp and the San Diego Padres and see if they can work out something there. But my predictions would be Turner to Philly, Swanson to Atlanta. If I had to guess right now, I'd say Correa to the Giants and Bogarts to the Dodgers. That's my guess. But again, you could flip Correa and Bogarts depending on which organization sees the fit best. I just don't think Bogarts is going to go back to the Red Sox. I don't think the Yankees are going to invest at that shortstop spot. Cubs could be a fit. John Paul Morosi believes that they are going to end up with one of the free agent shortstops out there. Say Swanson goes back to Atlanta, then they're able to pry away a guy like Carlos Correa to go to Chicago. Then the money could get a little interesting to some of the other free agents that are left out there. Maybe the money could get a little higher for a guy like Cody Bellinger. There's a lot of interest in a guy like Joey Gallo as well. He's a guy I would like to see back in Texas just for familiarity, comfort, all those things. Move Adolis Garcia to left or Gallo to left. They need a left fielder. They had league worst production in left field. Even Gallo's numbers would be better than what they had last year. They were so bad last year. Ugh. But their priority is going to be adding to that pitching staff. I expect them to probably get one of DeGrom, Verlander, and Rodon. If they end up with two of them, look out. And then, of course, you have to worry about Kodai Senga. Where could he end up going in free agency? Chris Bassett, Taijuan Walker. There's some good starters to be had on the free agent market. And then the trade market should start percolating just after the Thanksgiving break as well. We're going to see a run-up to the winter meetings as far as teams trying to nail down who's available, who isn't. I think Swanson just didn't want to sign a cheap deal. I think he wants to maximize his value. He saw what Atlanta was doing around him, signing Albies to the cheap deal, signing Acuna to the cheap deal, getting a good deal with Riley, getting a good deal with Olsen, making the big deals with Harris and Strider in the season this year. And he just wanted to get a long-term deal done at his number, not necessarily what the club wanted to get him at. And so he wanted to get to free agency, and that's where they are. He also had his best offensive year this past year. It's kind of a good platform year for him to really to get a good number as far as a bat. Now the Braves, obviously, if he didn't have this good offensive year this past year, you're talking about significantly less payroll for Dansby Swanson. But as it is, he's a great defensive shortstop, the best in the game right now. 21 outs above average, I believe, is what his number was anyway. But fantastic defense. The bat was always the question, and this year he finally came through. But we could see Atlanta possibly losing him to the Cubs because they didn't get him signed early enough. But I think Swanson wanted to bet on himself more than anything else. I don't think it had anything with the Braves hesitating about Swanson. Maybe hesitating because of the bat, because they do have a couple of options in-house that they could turn to. And, of course, they got Tim Anderson next year if they want to go the free agency route that they could pursue. You never know who might become available on the trade block as well. That's kind of where I see the shortstops going this offseason. I know a lot of you guys have your own ideas as to where they could fit, etc. I know the Mariners have at least made calls on all those shortstops as well. They're set with J.P. Crawford, and they're still trying to improve their outfield. I'm not sure they end up with a shortstop, but say they strike out trying to get an outfielder, maybe they grab one of those shortstops and plug in Crawford out until left field or something like that. Who knows? But the shortstops should do very well this offseason. But just to kind of give you your predictions again, a lot of you guys asked a bunch of different predictions. Judge, my prediction: Yankees, Swanson to the Braves, Turner to the Phillies, Bogarts to the Dodgers, and Correa to the Giants. And then predictions for tomorrow's Thanksgiving Day games: Bills over the Lions, Cowboys over the Giants, and Vikings over the Patriots. But appreciate you guys sticking with us tonight. Got a bunch of new subscribers today. I think we're now 70 away from hitting our goal of 1,000. If you haven't already hit that subscribe button, please do. We really do appreciate it. I know a bunch of you have already liked the video, but if you haven't already, please do. It really does help increase viewership and get us more subscribers as well. And thank you guys so much. And we'll see you guys tomorrow night. Again, we will have a live even on Thanksgiving, right around this same time, 9, 10 o'clock. And you guys have a great Thanksgiving. Enjoy all the food. Enjoy your family time, whatever you're doing with your friends, family, etc. Just have a good Thanksgiving. Be safe. Don't drive on ice if you don't have to, etc. But take care of yourselves. Have fun. Don't eat too much, even though that's going to be impossible. I've got 2 turkeys, and I think we're doing 2 turkeys and another meat. I can't remember if we're doing ham or some other smoked meat, but going to have a lot of food myself. But hopefully you guys have a lot of fun this turkey day, and we'll see you guys tomorrow night. Thank you guys.